Hey there, and welcome to the little intro section we have at the beginning of every one of these Hatecast. Today, we shoot the first Q&A in my new house. With that being said, we are looking into reducing the echo, so please bear with me. SoundCloud is on its way to being fixed. We will upload all of the episodes on SoundCloud here pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. Also, be on the lookout for the new merch that just dropped. Here's my shameless plug. We have tank tops now, so sun's out, guns out. We also have more colors in your favorites, so be sure to check out on the website those. I also believe that Riot is BOGO this weekend. Buy one, get one. So if you haven't tried Riot already, first of all, what's wrong with you? And second of all, pick one up and enjoy the show. Welcome to another Hatecast, and this is the first Hatecast in my new place. So, sorry for the echo. With that being said, there it is again.
There it is.
Oh
All
my
right,
God.
I'm gonna start writing these down. So we got one right now.
Okay, guys. New Cast and Pain drinking game. Okay, Hatecast drinking game. Every time I say it'll be fine.
That's two.
That being said, or Jamie says in any event, you have to take a shot of something, right? I don't care if it's water. Stay hydrated.
See, the thing about this is I can actually refrain from doing that, and now that you have said that you need to stop doing that, you're just going to keep doing it, because that's what you did last time.
It's a thing, yes. It's, for some reason, you mention it, it draws attention to it. I keep doing it. It's, man, fucking, I don't know.
It's
fucking
hilarious. I enjoy it.
Don't
No,
worry
it'll be
about
fine, right?
it.
You're trying to
That
switch to
phrase,
don't worry
yes.
about it?
That phrase, though. Yeah, okay. Trying to catch up here. So, let's go ahead and get into some questions, because that is the topic today. It's a Q&A, another one for you guys. First one we have by Jules, and by the way, I had just had to include this one. Have you considered buying the Great American Challenge? Now, Jamie and I found out this is a dildo. So, I will have an Amazon link to that below. I haven't considered it, but now I have. And
I've never actually. Let me look at this real quick, because we've got some very, very extraordinarily humongous dildos in the house. So.
Oh, okay. It's 24 inches.
Oh wow. Yeah, we go more for a girth than length.
Girth and length, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what the thickness is.
2.9
inches wide.
So not very.
No, I think we actually have that one beat in width.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we do.
You've heard it here first.
Yep.
So the second one, okay, thank you, Jules, by the way, and I'm looking forward to his new album, or his new video that's debuting soon.
Oh, by the way, you pronounce his name Yules.
Yules?
Yeah.
Damn it! Well, you know what? Stupid American. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, J is Jot in German, so it's pronounced just fine.
Yules.
Yep, there you go.
All right. So the second question we have is, I'm a big fan of the Bahamut / Most Hated shirts.
That's Baphomet.
Baphomet, yeah. What was the thought process with merging something as taboo as the occult with lifting, without it coming across as tap out / affliction 2.0?
I actually designed that shirt specifically for myself. It wasn't intended to be a Chaos and Pain shirt at all, because Wayne was previously very, very leery of having any of my personal peccadillos involved in the company. So that was just made for me at a specific powerlifting meet, and And so I made just a couple of them, and for myself and my girlfriend and a couple other people, because my ex-girlfriend did the design, and people just started begging me for it, so we put them in there. But yeah, it's basically just a combination of the things I love. And now kind of Lift Evil is doing the same thing, and there's Baphomet Barbells doing a similar thing, so it's kind of a thing now.
Now all we need to do is make a kettlebell with a like a pentagram on it.
There is a demon head kettlebell that I have bookmarked still, I think. And also, our Bunker Buster beats the Great American Challenge by 0.3 inches in diameter.
Oh, man, Bunker Buster.
Yeah, so it's almost a half-inch wider.
I'll link both of them in the comments section below.
There you go.
The description box.
It'll be fine.
Next question. Yeah, I'm trying to avoid them really hard.
I know. So I'm going to keep saying them just so they get in your head.
Well, you know what? Just because you said that, I'm going to say something that's going to annoy you really bad. Okay? Look, listen, okay? I bought 3 packages of Oreos. Okay?
I just saw those Pop Rocks ones. Christ, they're disgusting.
Yes. I've tried all 3 of the new seasonal flavored Oreos. So on the top of the list is kettle corn. Okay? It tastes like a caramel Oreo. That's fine. The other 2 were kind of lackluster. The Fireworks and the Pop Rocks. Actually, the Fireworks was just colored version of the, like, dyed version of the Pop Rocks. So save your money, people. Just buy one or the other. Or, you know, you hate Oreos, so I don't know if you're going to be partaking.
I don't hate Oreos. I just, I don't eat them very often.
Fucking do it. You know what?
Who the hell hates Oreos? It's like hating Fritos.
Sir, hating Oreos is hating freedom.
All right.
But, yeah, no, very America. Like, I've been in the habit recently of trying, and I encourage everybody to do this, try all the seasonal stuff. I know you're just feeding the giant marketing giant that is the economy, but, man, some of the stuff is good and some of the stuff is really bad. Like, I tried the cotton candy Twinkies that was spring a couple, I think a year ago. Horrible mistake. Fucking chemical burst of bullshit flavor. So fucking bad. Don't try them. And then there's other stuff like, of course, the kettle corn Oreos, which were okay. You know. But let's get back to questions, damn it. That was a little offshoot.
Oh, wait. Since you're from Arkansas and
oh God. Here we go.
Probably a super patriot like that.
Oh my God. Here we go. Give me more shit from being from the South. Go ahead.
The flag is not supposed to touch the ground, correct?
Correct.
And I am 98% certain. I mean, it's been about 25 years since I've had civics class, but I'm 98% certain you are not to fashion the flag into an article of clothing. However, were you to fashion a flag into an article of clothing, sitting on it would just be like you might as well shit on it and then burn it.
Correct.
So all of these super patriots out there who are scampering about their CrossFit gyms wearing, like, America this and America that, are actually, I don't know. Like, are they Soviet insurgents? What's happening?
What about Star Spangled Banner pants? Which are apparently coming back in fashion. So, like,
I don't know what that is.
Huh?
Are they like Zubaz pants?
They're just American flag pants. So, basically, you have the stars on your ass. And that kind of goes over exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
But well, I don't know. There's smarter people in the world than I to debate that.
And there is a company called Gorilla Bow that makes Demon kettlebells, Gorilla kettlebells, King Kong kettlebells, a Spartan one. And having just gone to an obstacle course race over the weekend, let me just tell you that our Jeep was just about the only vehicle in that fucking parking lot that wasn't like savage, Spartan, Death Wish, brutal, whatever fucking race car with like Spartan symbols all over it and the word savage, brutal all over it. It was It was something else because I didn't actually see anybody, save for one guy who had a massive white power tattoo on his back.
Oh,
I didn't
God.
see anybody who I would refer to as savage or brutal. And that guy mad dogged me for like a solid half hour. Because obviously I'm not fucking running anywhere. That's nonsense.
Cardio, is it Spanish? But Jamie, planning on writing any more books? We got that question. So we are actually looking into making a cookbook. That is the one, the most, I think the one at the top of our priority list, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have a book in the works.
Okay. Which is what?
It is, it's called Go Viking. The title's longer than that, but it's basically, it's going to be kind of a warrior diet style book, but it's going to be based on ancient Germanic and Celtic peoples.
Okay. Now, as for like going over their diet or training or all the above?
All of the above, just like the warrior diet did.
Okay.
Except the warrior diet didn't involve like Grecian military training, whereas mine is going to be centered around the actual physical activities and training that the ancient Germans and Celts did.
Hell yeah, go milk some cows. Go herd some sheep. I don't exactly know what they did. So can you go over a little bit about what their activities were on a day-to-day basis?
Well, one thing that I've actually been, I started experimenting with about a year ago, and it's crazy how fast it brings up like a bunch of other lifts, is involving high rep rowing movements. Like I don't get on an ergometer or anything like that, because again, I'm not. What am I going to run from? But I'll do like high rep cable rows or TRX rows, stuff like that, and just doing them for time, basically, like 3 minutes nonstop, kind of thing. And it builds a lot of like random bicep, forearm, back strength, and the Vikings and the ancient Germans were actually capable of rowing faster than our best Olympic rowers can row now. And when we've actually tested this in a Viking longship with Olympic rowers, the rowers showed up after the Vikings, because we have very clearly defined periods of time where the Vikings left this place and got to this place in this period of time, so we can break it down and determine how fast they rowed.
Yeah, they actually recorded quite a bit of their history, didn't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, also there were a lot of monks around to tell, like, oh well, the Vikings stopped raping us like on this day, and then other monks were like, these Vikings started raping us on this day. So.
The rapes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. They were pretty big on raping.
The Chronicle of Rapes. A Viking story.
Basically. And so we tried to recreate that with Olympic rowers, and they just collapsed on the beach, and they couldn't get there as fast as the Vikings did. The Vikings would just disembark and fight, and so like these people couldn't even pick up a sword; they were so exhausted. So the Vikings were just in phenomenal shape, and they were constantly getting into competitions for everything, doing a lot of feats of strength. Which is where a lot of the Highland Games stuff comes from. Yeah. Halfthor just like 2 years ago walked this. It was a huge log that I don't remember what the weight of it was. It was something like 900 pounds, and he walked it 11 steps. And the previous record was held by a Viking. The record was 1,000 years old. So this guy was natty as fuck. Never saw a gym. And he picked up the ship's mast and walked 6 steps with it, and then it snapped his back and he died.
Oh yeah, don't worry about it.
But that's a different level of fucking brutal. You know, this guy was just hammered, and he was like, I bet you I can carry that fucking thing. And his friends were like, no, you fucking can't. And he did it 6 steps and then snapped his back and died, and we remember him 1,000 years later. So
yeah, that's because he actually did something that he said he was going to do. So, that's rare.
Yeah.
Also, you got to understand too, Vikings, ancient Germanic, and even some of the Polish, they actually, a majority of their time was spent in basically fight or flight. Like, they had a very brutal lifestyle. They didn't really rest that well. It wasn't in their vocabulary. I mean, they drank, they passed out, they did it again. But they were some brutal people.
Yeah, they partied pretty hard.
And then, even in their hometowns, when they were like, gathered around doing stuff, like if somebody thought you were scamming them, like at a, bartering, they just beat the shit out of you. Just
there
go
were no
off on you.
There were no actual, like, it was pretty rare that you got locked up for anything. They would do shit like if you got caught stealing in a Germanic village, they would make you run a gauntlet of every person in the village. You would have to just walk down it, and everybody just be kicking the fucking shit out of you. So by the end, you're just crawling to the end, and at the end, you're forgiven.
That was their idea of customer service, by the way.
I'll tell you what, though, it is a great deterrent to... I mean, it's a great way to keep, like, unity in a community and solve a crime at the same time, because that guy is not going to want to steal anything ever again, and nobody else is going to hold a grudge against the fucking guy because they got to kick his ass inside out. So, I mean, everybody wins in that situation.
Yeah. But, so that's going to be an interesting book. So Insurance of Insanity. I know we've had requests to update that. So.
Yeah, that's actually something I've got to do as well. So what issuances have been is I take all of my training and nutrition articles from a specific period of time, re-edit the shit out of them, and then put them into a book format, and make it like searchable and do all that. And so that's on my list of things to do as well, because I think the last one ended in 2013, so I've got like 5 years to catch up on, although 3 of those years were pretty scanty in terms of posting, so
it'd be okay.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get those.
We also had so a bunch of people have been getting interested in the apex predator diet as of recently, right? Because we've been mentioning it a lot,
right?
And people are always looking for the next diet to try. So
I actually just wrote a note to myself today to update that, because I need to do a bulking version of it anyway. So that'll be an ebook coming out sometime soon as well.
Now the bulking version, I do have a question. Would that be cyclical? Like a cyclical keto style?
All of this it's all cyclical keto. Okay. The bulking version would have, just to give a basic overview of it, you'll have two cheat windows a week, and you're going to raise your calories even higher. That's the short version of it.
So basically everybody who's in strength sports, powerlifting, anything like that needs to give the Apex Predator diet a try, by the way, guys. So if you haven't already, Jamie has written about it before. All the information is available on his blog. And if you need help breaking past a plateau, either in fat loss or strength or muscle gain, I highly suggest it.
Thank you. Yeah, unless you have intestinal vaginitis, like my co-host.
Oh, come on. Just giving me shit. You know what? Actually, we were on Reddit not too long ago. Somebody had posted us on Reddit. And they said that, oh yeah, the old Chaos and Bane podcast, that was great. But this one, in this one, all it is Jamie making his co-host vastly uncomfortable with sexual escapades. So now we have making him feel bad from being from the South to add to the list, and him giving him shit on all of his catchphrases. So it's an interesting listen, guys.
And your literal lack of intestinal fortitude.
Yes. But on to the next question. What would you consider the best bang for the buck upper body lifts for carryover to general strength? I made a lot of progress on lateral raises, but it didn't seem to do fuck all for my overhead press. Now, you would say, of course, the squat, the dips, right?
I'm of several minds on this. Because as who was it? I think it was Chuck Sipes pointed out that Pat Casey was a huge fan of weighted dips, and he was the first 600-pound bencher. Yeah. And he also had a behind-the-neck press of like 405, but those things fucking ground up his shoulders. So by the end of his lifting career, his shoulders were just mangled. Okay. And you'll find that a lot of people who have like shoulder impingement issues, a lot of them talk about how dips just kill them. I have never been able to figure out if that's because they have terrible shoulder flexibility or what, because I don't get any shoulder pain doing weighted dips. I just get sick of tearing shirts because I've got 5 plates hanging on my belt and like my shirt catches in my belt and gets holes in it. So that's why I don't do them. But
yeah.
You know, as much as I fucking hate the lift, if you're trying to come up with some, actually no, I'm just gonna go with overhead press, either a push press or a strict press, because you'll get back development from that. You'll get traps. You'll get shoulders, triceps. So
yeah,
and that's gonna carry over to your bench, and it'll probably carry over to other back movements as well.
Yeah. I actually, because so many people, and I don't know why this is, so many people are having like lower back issues. Have you fucking noticed that?
How?
Like even lower back and just general. I don't know.
I keep having these 20-something kids tell me they got a hernia, and I'm like, you should just hang yourself. If you got a hernia at 20, kill yourself, because your life's over anyway.
Well,
How the fuck do you get a hernia at 8? I think what's happened is these kids gave up playing sports, and so they're just in terrible fucking shape. Like their body's they got an old man body at 25.
Well, not only that, but they pick jobs that have them sitting all day. And then
I've always worked office jobs, but
you also added extra activity, right? Like you come home from work, let's just say you're working a 9 to 5, you go to the gym. Right?
Yeah,
you don't.
By the way, to anybody who works an office job, do not go home first. Go directly to the gym. Right. If you go home first, you will either fuck up your lift or you will miss it.
Or make your lunch break worth it. Like go to the gym for that, 30 minutes to an hour. At least get some cardio or something in, right? Because
do something.
Sitting all day is not healthy for you. I don't care who you are. Sitting all day, like that lack of movement, is just not healthy for you. But
no.
I digress. So to answer the question, the what I would say would be the best bang for your buck upper body exercise. I actually have something different to say than Jamie this time. The pull-up.
There you go.
I just feel like it's easy on people. It's easy on people because you move your whole body through a plane of motion, right? So you're not really going to be doing any fucking harm to your joints whatsoever. You have to really fucking try to do any harm to your joints doing pull-ups.
You can get a little bit of like tennis elbow from doing a shitload of pull-ups. I've done that. Like, although I don't really like discussing my my incarceration period, there was no place to do pull-ups, so I did them off the side of my bed. Because they have like a plate so that idiots don't roll out of their bed. So off the top bunk you can do pull-ups. And so I would just do them that way. Like sets of 20 to 30 at a time. And I would get some pretty gnarly knotting in my elbows.
Well, see, a lot of people who also have tendonitis, and this is we actually had somebody on the Facebook group, which, by the way, guys, if you have not joined the Facebook group, I highly suggest it. We're giving away free Fearox today on the Facebook group. It's Fearox Friday. This is being recorded on Friday, by the way, and really cool shit happening over in that Facebook group. If you need to know where to find it, we have it listed on the Facebook page, and we have it listed on the Instagram.
And it'll be in the email that's going out this afternoon as well.
Correct. But with that being said, there it is. God damn it.
There we go.
God damn it. Yeah. So, fuck, where was I? Oh, most people who have tendonitis, because this guy was saying, tendonitis, and everybody was saying Helios, which is great. It's great for tendonitis, our product Helios. But most of the time when people have tendonitis, I find that it's actually people having just these rough lockouts when they do tricep. Have you never noticed when people do tricep exercises or overhead press or something like that, they do those like extreme banging your joint lockouts?
Mm-hmm.
At the top there. I think that does harm, honestly. especially when you're doing something like overhead tricep extensions, and you just bang them out, right? Or you do stuff like skull crushers, and you just land with that hard elbow. You should have a soft elbow, right? And squeeze your triceps instead of making it so that once your joint basically hits that point of lockout, you feel the squeeze. I mean, a lot of people do bang their joints that way, and that's kind of, I would suggest anyone who's having problems with tendonitis in their elbow or something like that to look at their lockout and see if they're going at that too hard. When it comes to, if you're locking out on bench too rough, if you're doing tricep exercises and you lock out there. And I know a lot of people have bicep tendonitis too nowadays. That's something that I guess popped up recently too. What do you think the cause for that is?
What do you think the cause for it is?
I think the cause for it is doing an excessive amount of pulling work along with an excessive amount of bicep work on like a daily basis. You know? I don't exactly know, because it's something very new. I guess people are just complaining about it more, I think, is the consensus. I mean,
I think that's probably the case, because I mean, you look at just the workload of people with physical jobs over, even now. But I was going to go back to like people who shoveled coal and things like that, or people who shoveled clay. Clay is incredibly heavy. I actually have an injury that was common among them. It's called a clay shoveler's fracture, and it's when your traps are so strong they start ripping chunks of bone out of your spine.
Oh no!
Yeah, when I broke the world record, I actually had that. I had this huge lump on my on whatever that vertebrae is that kind of sticks out in between your traps.
Right.
Because it had just ripped chunks out of that thing. There's no way to really fix it, and all it is just swelling and painful. But it's you never hear about clay shoveler's bicep, and you would definitely, I mean, their biceps had to have been like a thing of beauty, for one. And for another, like, overworked all the shit.
Yeah. But I'm talking about people who, for instance, deadlift on Monday, bicep work on Tuesday, deadlift or do some pulling, like extreme pulling workout on Thursday. And then Friday, they kick it off with more bicep work.
I think they just need to acclimatize to it, honestly. I worked installing office furniture for like 6 months after I got my MBA, which was ridiculous because I didn't even know how to make the drill go backwards.
Don't worry about it.
I had no idea. I'm looking at the drill and I'm like, where the fuck is the reverse button on this thing? And I'm looking all over. I finally had to ask somebody. The guy didn't know how to read, and he looked at me like I was fucking retarded. But my forearms and my hands were so fucking knotted all the time because I just had never done that kind of work. And I think it's the same thing with people in the gym now, is they're just not used to that level of or that frequency, and so they just have to kind of tough it out, and eventually it'll stop hurting. Or they'll stop noticing that it hurts. One or the other.
Also, I think people rely too much on equipment nowadays. Knee sleeves, wrist wraps, straps, all that stuff. Kind of putting Band-Aids on their lifts, I'm
guilty of that personally because
you've already paid your dues, man. You're already like advanced lifter, right? But I'm talking about like these gym bros who start out with squatting the bar with knee sleeves on.
Oh yeah, that's ridiculous. Quite frankly, until you get I never even put knee sleeves on outside of a competition, nor did I wear a belt outside of competition. There is absolutely no unless you're handling very serious poundages. You don't deserve them, nor do you need them. I think wrist wraps are a good idea because I just get terrible wrist pain, not so much from benching, but especially from overhead pressing and Klokov presses in particular.
What about
My
elbow
wrists
sleeves?
Fucking kill me. Elbow sleeves are a a piece. They're just bullshit. Like, I have a set of elbow sleeves. I mean, anytime you see a person who is doing a lift with elbow sleeves on, you can take anywhere between 10 and 50 pounds off their lift.
Correct.
Like, because that's what you're getting out of those things. So,
yeah.
I have those yellow and black ones, and it's fucking hilarious. The first time I ever put them on, I think at the time I was benching like 315 for 2, and I did like 8, and was terrified. I just racked it. Was like, what just happened? I don't know what's happened. I was like waiting to see if like some catastrophic injury was going to hit me, or my eyes would start bleeding or something.
Yeah. Well, I don't like too much of the elbow sleeves or knee sleeves, because what it ends up doing is you end up almost using them as Band-Aids to kind of, I'm not going to say cheat, because goddamn it, you lifted the weight, it's fine, right? But like, excessively rely on them, you know?
Oh yeah. And if you are going to use, say you do use knee sleeves, like we'll just say for the sake of argument that you are a runner and you're squatting a lot.
Right.
So for squatting now, because your IT bands are so tight, they're pulling your knee off track a little bit. You slap the knee sleeves on to keep your knee tracking. All right, that's understandable. But if you're some dickhead who's doing starting strength and you just started lifting and you spend $1,000 on gear before you even have like an 800-pound total, you're a fucking retard. Like, these kids who are entering meets who have no business being in the meet in the first place don't need any goddamn gear. Like, they don't need a belt.
Yeah.
At all. They don't need squat shoes. They don't need any of that shit. Just show up and, I mean, if you're just going to show up, just do that. You don't need all that shit.
That's something I'd like to get your opinion on. So footwear has become a hot button issue. No, we're going to go down this rabbit hole.
No, dude, I think it was like 2010 or 2011. I got something like 50 emails in the span of 2 weeks about my shoes. And finally I posted about it, and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? They're shoes. Do you want to know what kind of shoes I lift in, dude?
What?
The shoes I'm wearing. Whatever I'm wearing that day, and I don't give a shit. I've lifted in my fucking docks multiple times. I don't like it, but I do it because they're the shoes I have. The only time I change my shoes is if I'm front squatting.
Right.
I wear squat shoes for that, just because I like to have a lifted heel because it makes sense.
Right. Now,
got 545 off the pins yesterday, by the way.
There you
front
fucking
squat.
go.
Yep.
I don't know where I'm at on that. I know that definitely if you're a runner, shoes can make an impact, but you also need, I think everybody should look into some, at least Dr. Scholl's inserts. Because if your foot is not supported, you're not getting everything you can out of your lift, you know? With that being said, there it is again. God damn it.
There it is again.
With that being said, it really doesn't matter if it's flat-soled versus running shoe versus whatever, especially if you're not really training for, like, if you're not trying to egg out every little percentage, just don't fucking worry about it. Stop fucking over-obsessing about shit like that, right? So, rule of thumb, have a different pair of shoes that you wear for the gym because they will stink. Otherwise, just get over it. Like, just buy shoes, the ones that are comfortable for you, and lift in those. That's my simple answer to that. It's done.
My first meet when I just kind of showed up and trashed everybody, yeah. I squatted 565, and I wasn't wearing a belt, and I was wearing Nike Frees. And then like 3 months later, I squatted 615 or 605. Now 615 beltless, and in Nike Frees. So you don't need all that shit.
Also, I'm not going to pay $120 for shoes.
You can get Adidas Power Lifts for like $70.
Oh, well.
And those are good shoes. That's what I wear in the gym.
I know, but like the Reebok CrossFits are in style.
Yeah,
and
or those. Everybody thinks they need the Nike Romalos. You only need Nike Romalos if you're an Olympic weightlifter or you squat high bar with a close stance.
There's like $400 pair of weightlifting shoes.
There's no money to be made. Like, some kid was just telling me today that some guy in the IPF is retiring now that he got a bronze in the IPF Worlds. And I was like, number one, retiring from powerlifting? You retire from a sport somebody gives a shit about. Like, I didn't say I retired from powerlifting. I'm just going to stop. Like, retire. But, people are acting like this is a sport anybody gives a shit about, or that it's important in any way. It's crazy to me. It makes no sense. Why people are spending this amount of money on coaches and this and that and the other thing, it's nonsense.
Well, it's just like people who bird watch. You know, bird watching is important to the people who like to bird watch, but otherwise, like, who gives a shit?
But bird watchers aren't acting like they're fucking curing cancer every time they go into the go out in the woods and see a bird.
Yeah,
they're
not... to be fair, but I mean, I don't know, man. It's just stop overcomplicating the whole fucking shoe thing and the I need this wrist wrap or that strap or whatever. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, something you should invest a good amount of money in if you are thinking about competing is a good weightlifting belt, right? Because those things bust. I've had a cheap one bust on me. It just broke. You know, the prongs. There's aluminum prongs. Go figure. But I've had that thing bust on me, so if you're going to compete, invest in that. Wrist wraps, you don't really need to spend a lot of money on those. Like,
I will contradict you on that. I have used every manner of wrist wrap under the sun. Okay. And my favorite by far is Iron Rebel. They're expensive as shit, but it literally feels like your wrist is in a cast. I don't use them anymore. Gotcha. I left them in the gym at some point, and I don't feel like paying another $50 for wrist wraps. But wrist wraps and wrist straps are the only two pieces of equipment I think anybody needs, and the only two pieces of equipment that I think you should get quality over trash.
That's another thing I was going to say is straps, too, because, by the way, do you like Versa grips? Have you tried them?
Are those the little hook grip thingies?
Yeah.
I've tried them once or twice. I don't like them. I don't feel like I have any control over the bar.
Same here.
Also, I shrug so fucking heavy that those things won't work.
Yeah, I don't like them because it just doesn't it doesn't feel like my hand, you know. It doesn't feel right. I can't. I just can't.
Yeah, I would advise to people that they not get shitty wrist straps from Home Depot, Sports Authority or something like that. Like, actually get some decent ones. As much as Spud and I fucking hate each other, Spud makes great wrist straps. They're made out of toe straps. They will never break. I've had many a wrist strap break on me. It's a miracle I haven't killed myself. I mean, like, it's always when I'm shrugging and the thing will snap. I'll punch myself in either the eye or the nose. I've broken my nose once doing it. My feet go flipping up in the air. I land on my fucking head on the ground. It's brutal. So get some decent wrist wraps or straps.
Yeah. So that actually brings us to the next question here. Have you ever fallen or busted your ass doing overhead press or squats?
Yule's asked this question because he knows that I have.
Okay. Well, please do elaborate.
So I was really, really big into doing behind-the-neck push presses for a long time. And at one point I worked up to a 405 behind-the-neck push press I was pretty excited about.
Yeah.
But the problem with behind-the-neck push presses is if you drop it at the wrong spot on your neck, you will give yourself whiplash. And your neck will hurt for days. And so I had just done that, but I was having a fucking great lift. So I shook it off, and in an effort to make sure that I dropped the bar back, I knew I had to stand up straighter, except I pushed my head back like I was squatting. So when I pushed the bar up off my back, I smacked myself insanely hard in the back of the head.
God damn.
and dropped it back on the back of my neck because I was now at this point I was practically falling over. And behind me was one of those gigantic, like 2-story overhead leg press things. You have to like climb a ladder to get into. And so I crashed into that fucking thing. It was a mess. It was an absolute mess. I looked like a complete asshole. And then I have also, there's a guy who I'm still friends with who I like on the internet who's probably listening to this. His name's Everett. And Everett used to come to the gym with me even though he had never had any idea of lifting, I don't think. He had never squatted before. And one day he decides he's going to squat, and so he goes, like there was a rack, but the hooks, the J-hooks were set outside of the rack. And so he took it out of the rack, and he took 2 steps backwards and then just fell over on his back. I was amazed he didn't break his fucking neck landing on the bar like that.
Jesus.
I was pissing myself laughing, and he just laid there on the floor for a while. It was amazingly funny. So,
well, thankfully smartphones, weren't around.
Yeah, they were not around
at that point. So, but on to the next one. If you could invent your own,
you never had any catastrophe squatting or overhead pressing?
Fuck. Okay. So I did have one incident which still haunts me today. Shoulder pressing. Right now, I was a novice lifter when I attempted this. Now, mind you, guys, ego lifting.
Mind you, is going on the list as well.
Oh my god.
Because that's at least the 10th time you've said it.
Hell yeah. Ego lifting has its place. Powerlifting was, or the old school powerlifting, right, was kind of built on that. Like, who is stronger? Strong.
Nobody would be lifting at all if it wasn't for ego. I hate that fucking shit. But anyway, go ahead.
But I decided to fall prey to it. And at the time, I was still big. I was still weak. I was not really strong for a big guy. So I was doing overhead. I was doing military press, seated dumbbell military press, right? And I saw this dude, this gym bro, who was just repping out like a fucking monster, 70 pounds, dumbbells for like 20, right? I wanted to try and do that. Now, at the time, my current weight has since improved, even though, according to Instagram, it hasn't. Yeah, I get called weak all the time. It's fine. Oh,
look at that! You truncated it.
Yeah, but I was doing 30 pounds, right? And I jumped all the way up to 70. Now, I was still learning to press. It was a really bad time to try this, and I went up, and my shoulder went back.
So you're still overhead pressing 30 pounds?
Huh?
You said according to Instagram you haven't grown any stronger. There is a video of you overhead pressing 30 pounds on the internet?
No.
Oh.
They just gave me shit for the couple of videos that I do have up there. I just don't record my lifting. Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's fine. But yeah, my shoulder just went back, and I just heard like it was a fucking snap, crackle, pop. I actually suffered a significant injury.
What'd you do?
I'm not really sure if it was rotator cuff or what, but I just didn't train shoulders for a while, and it got okay and better and better and better, and now I'm back to pretty much normal. But holy fuck. So that was the time where I completely fucking failed overhead pressing. High bar squatting happened not too fucking long ago. Do you understand that different gyms feel different? The weights feel different, right? When you go into...
Wait, what does that have to do with high bar squatting?
Hold on here.
Okay.
So I was going back to my old...
I thought you were asking a question. I was like, no. Thoroughly confused as to what's happening now.
So I was in my home gym. This one actually happened recently. I was in my old stomping grounds back in Austin, Texas, and I put 135 on the bar, and I squatted down. I exploded up. The bar came flying off my back because apparently the gym weights were lighter or whatever, right? Landed on the exact right spot on my traps to cause a little bit of numbness in my my lower extremities and caused me to go make a yell obscenities in the gym. So, I had a pretty bad little spasm there, and I ended up having my glute lock up at the same time. And so basically I crippled myself with 135. So
that's impressive.
I know. That was like 135 is what I throw on to warm up. And
what does it mean to have your glute lock up?
It was a muscle spasm. So like, the top of my glute, where glute lower back, there was a spasm somewhere in between there. And it fucking felt like something knotted up and just lurched. Just fucking this gnarly just lock up, you know? And, god damn it. It fucking hurt. But, I don't know what the fuck that was, but I had felt like I had done some serious damage there. And, I had when I was squatting before, like when I was doing a lot of high bar, I'm still doing high bar, but I'm not putting it on that spot anymore. But I used to have my right leg go numb, right? It was pushing up against a nerve on my neck. And, yeah. It's not really a funny fail, but it's yeah. I failed.
You know what that might be, actually, is you have knotting in your traps, and you're compressing a knot, which is pushing on a nerve.
Probably. I have no fucking clue about that. But I do know that it's super embarrassing to be injured by 135. So
I did it once myself on jump squats. I was in a gym with really insanely whippy bars that were it was like good Eleiko bars that were in the squat racks for whatever reason. And I hadn't jump squatted in like 3 years, jumped way too fucking high, hit the ground, the bar bounced way the fuck off my back, and instead of just letting it drop to the floor, I held onto it in an effort to not look like a complete asshole and made myself look like an even bigger asshole because I crashed backwards into the back of the rack and then swooped my ass underneath it to catch it and just racked it as fast as I could. Everybody was in the gym was laughing their ass off at me. And, yeah, I felt like a complete dipshit.
Yeah.
And this was last year.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, welcome to the club.
It happens to everybody.
Next question. If you could invent your own strength sport, what would it be?
I would bring back odd lifting as it was done. So it would be more of a fun thing where it was just you get together, you decide on 5 to 7 lifts, and then you compete in those 5 to 7 lifts, and best man wins. I've actually talked to a guy about doing that. There's this guy Justin Paul who competes in strongman, and he and I are looking at trying to make this a reality. So what we're thinking is that when you enter the competition, like at the date of entry, you give your the one lift you want to do, your pet lift, whatever it is. It could be Jefferson squats or like right arm overhead press or whatever. And so we put all those into a pot. And if there's any duplicates, we pick, so we're going to do 5 lifts. We pick the duplicates. If we run out of duplicates, we just do a random lottery for the other couple. And I think that would be fun. I did an odd lift thing like that at Iron Sport a few years ago, and it was the best time I've ever had at a competition.
And there's video of it.
Yeah, it was fun as shit. So
yeah. And that's an awesome idea. Also, you could have like a so that people are kind of thrown off. You could have one lift that the judges or you and this individual chooses. That's just something y'all want to see them do.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem is he and I both want to compete in it. So what we're going to do is conceive of the entire thing and have somebody else run it.
Oh, that makes better.
Yeah.
That makes more sense, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to come up with the conception. We will be, say, the executive producers of the thing, and then we will have a director who, that way it won't be like, oh, well, they skew the competition in their favor. No, we both want to compete, so.
You know, I want to see some batshit crazy stuff. So, like, kind of the stuff that Bud Jeffers does. I want to see people have feats of strength combined with feats of accuracy, right? So I think that something like as many log presses as you can do, and then as many axe throws as you can do, something like that. Something that is just, it wouldn't get anywhere, right? But it would be fucking fun to watch.
Definitely. Also, the other 3 things that will be involved in this competition that are non-negotiable are, well, actually 4. There will be an after party, and it will be sick. There will be go-go dancers. There will be at least 1 midget on a tricycle, and there will be a house band.
Okay.
Yes, those things are non-negotiable. We are having those things. So this isn't going to be one of those stupid-ass odd lift competitions that happens in a church.
Okay. I'd be down.
Anybody would be down. There's going to be fire and midgets on tricycles.
But you have to have the logo for the thing be a pentagram if it's going to be held in church.
Oh, you know what? If we could, I would do it in Pittsburgh, because there are at least 3 bars in Pittsburgh that are converted to music venues. And I saw Thy Art is Murder there, and it was this place called the Altar Bar. So the stage is actually where the priest and all the, kids they diddled were all up at the front. And so that's where the stage was. Thy Art is Murder comes out, and as soon as they cut the lights on, these 2 huge banners unfurl from the ceiling that are giant upside-down crosses. And I was like, this is the most metal fucking thing ever.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, next question. CNS fatigue. What's the best way to mitigate the impact of it? I've been coming back from a long layover, so I've been seeing much of it while I keep pushing myself harder. I don't lower the volume or intensity over. Just wondering if you have any tips. So, are you talking about, I don't exactly understand the question. So, CNS fatigue from what? You had a layover? I don't know. Are you talking about, like, adapting to the movements again? Because that takes about 4 weeks, and then you're good to go.
There is a boogeyman in powerlifting that exists.
Oh, no.
Yeah, powerlifters check under their beds at night. It's kind of like how, anything that people who are like Democrats, they will call it fascist or Nazi, and how Trump fans will call everything they dislike communism, and snowflakes. They love calling everybody a snowflake.
So everybody's wrong, yeah.
Yeah. So kind of like that. Anything a powerlifter dislikes, anything that like they feel like is making them weak, they call it CNS fatigue, which doesn't exist. There is absolutely no scientific support that I have ever seen that supports the idea that your CNS is exhausted by lifting heavy weights.
What about maxing every single day?
That's mentally exhausting, and it's stupid, but I don't... Your central nervous system, like, it's virtually impossible to destroy it. You might have adrenal fatigue, which I still think is a myth, but, like, from being too amped up all the time, trying to, like, max. But this entire idea of CNS fatigue is nonsense. And just because if somebody just went on a layoff and they come back, they should be rested. Their CNS should be just fine. They should be able to handle whatever workload they want. The human body is capable of doing amazing things. If you think that your fucking 5'3" is tearing your ass to pieces, you should just lay in bed and wait to die.
I think that it has more to do, honestly, with this person's diet. Not eating enough food definitely has... Like, you have all those people listing CNS fatigue and all the side effects you fucking feel of it and all that stuff. Like, Reddit's all about that. Like, if you have CNS fatigue, you might feel insomnia. Blah, 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 blah. Might include death. it's probably just a lack of food. Food is very, very powerful. Calorie surpluses or energy surpluses are very, very powerful. If you're not eating enough, you will feel like shit, right? Especially if you're not eating enough to adapt to the thing that you're trying to adapt to, right? Which is weightlifting in our case. I'm guessing this guy's not a marathon runner. So when it comes down to it, I would look at your diet to see if that's something that...
Yes, it's exercise-induced hypoglycemia attenuates CNS activation. So your CNS is not fatigued. It's that you're having low blood sugar.
Right. And I would check and see if... because, you know, if you're not recovering from the work that you're doing, try something different. What is people's problem with just trying different things? You know? I mean, okay, I've squatted 3 days in a row. I don't feel good when I do that. Why don't I just not do that and squat twice? Or squat once? Or do this once? Or do this twice? Or whatever. Play with it. It's really is that simple. You know?
I'm really of the opinion that CNS fatigue is really mental fatigue. It's that because you have to get psyched up in order to do heavy weights, or you're dealing with fear regarding the weights. Which was once I got up to like a max of between 650 and 675 in the gym on squatting, every time I took that out of the rack, I was about to piss my pants.
Right.
Because I didn't have insurance. So one wrong move and I'm
die. Yeah.
Yeah, and I never had a spotter on anything. So that was mentally exhausting to me because I was literally afraid through most of my workout. I mean, I wasn't
what was that bodybuilder that was injured squatting real weight for a photo shoot?
Jean-Pierre Fuchs.
Fuchs, yeah.
F-U-X. Yeah, so, if you guys want to see a brutal, like somebody just completely, he tore both quads. He had patellar tendon tears. He just destroyed his knees.
And he trained legs before that.
Yes. So. I think he was trying to squat 800 or something like that.
Yeah, it was the story that he told was the photographer that had him. He was notorious for making people use real weights, right? So because here's a little, not known very well fact of the fitness industry. Like those magazine photo shoots, usually, right? I'm not saying all the time, relax, these guys train heavy, whatever, but like you go into the gym, you have your bench workout, and then you go for a photo shoot that has you benching. Well, what's the cure for that? Fake weights, right? That's why they were invented. They weren't invented so that you can look good for Instagram. They were invented so that you can look good for magazine covers. And usually some of the photographers, like the good ones nowadays, have you use fake weights because they know you've trained previously that day because you do some pump work to kind of get ready for the photo shoot, right? Well, this photographer in particular, had this guy use actual real weights, which is something he was not used to. And when he got underneath that thing, he knew he fucked up. He decided to do it anyway and then crash. It was one of the most well-documented injuries when it comes to professional bodybuilders, and it was also one of the most brutal photos taken of somebody who's actually hurt. The guy was shooting this stuff, Even after the injury, the guy was taking photos. Yeah.
He spent 2 weeks in the hospital because
crazy.
he tore all 4 quad muscles on one leg and snapped his patellar tendon on the other leg.
And it ruined his bodybuilding career.
Yep, and he was
good.
One of the best bodybuilders he was the mass monster of the 90s.
Yeah. And, it really is a shame, but, I know fake weights is a problem right now when it comes to Instagram and everything like that. That's not the intention of them. They were used for photo shoots. And this photographer wanted to capture, and he was great for capturing, the real intensity in these guys, right? Because you would make them actually... it was a different environment, especially when it comes to sports photography. I don't know. I know a little bit about that, in case you couldn't tell. But it was crazy. That's fucking crazy. But anyway, to answer your question, when it comes to CNS fatigue, Try to get some more sleep too. You know, sleep more equals better lifts. You know, you have anything to add?
No, that pretty well. I mean, really, like, it's mental fatigue. So if you're finding yourself like mentally exhausted by the idea of going to the gym, or, and I've said this a million fucking times, you're wasting mental energy fucking around on the internet, looking at people lifting, talking about lifting, all that shit. That is, you're taking energy out of your workout by spreading it out throughout the day on bullshit. Stop looking at people lifting weights and just fucking lift weights. You will have much more energy in the gym. I don't know why everybody is busy with this. It's craziness.
Well, what about adrenal fatigue? You said you don't believe in that, right?
Adrenal fatigue is like CNS fatigue. They cannot, if you look at PubMed, they're like possible causes of CNS fatigue. Possible cause, like, is CNS fatigue a thing? And so, and what I just was reading, the title had CNS fatigue in it, except that it wasn't CNS fatigue. It was hypoglycemia. And so...
Also, people, the community, the scientific community is actually torn on this because a lot of this adrenal fatigue and stuff that they look at has to do with diseases and has to do with hardcore drug usage. So like methamphetamines, cocaine, stuff like that. Like bad things happen, right?
Yeah, but
goddamn fucking rude ass ambulance.
Said was if meth addicts can get away with years of meth use before they have adrenal fatigue, then nobody's getting adrenal fatigue from taking fucking ECA stacks. It's just not possible.
And I think a lot of that has to do with like depletion of neurotransmitters too. A lot of the hardcore drug users go through like this brain chemical change, right? Some of the things responsible for energy and stuff like that are neurotransmitters. You know, your sense of wakefulness, right? And when you take those away, you run into fatigue. So, I mean, that's, you know, one of the mechanisms I believe behind that. But like ECA stack, that, you know, if you're taking cannabis ferox or something like that, even, I mean, you're not going to run into adrenal fatigue. I think it takes more, you know. It
takes meth.
Yeah.
It literally takes methamphetamines. Or like you see, I mean, you guys know everybody's on fucking Adderall. Look at any of your Adderall friends.
That's
when they
true,
take their Adderall, do they just fall down dead in the middle of the street, or are they fine? If they've been on Adderall for 5 years and they're not literally collapsing of exhaustion every time they take their Adderall, you're going to be fine with your ECA stack, or you know, stacking ephedrine with cannabis ferox or something. You'll live through it. It's going to be all right. It'll be fine. By the way, I just sent you a picture of Fuchs at 48, who looks better than just about everybody on the planet.
Better than me. You can get, you know what? Those guys who age in reverse, holy shit. What the hell?
His forearms are like 19 inches around.
What the hell?
And a full inch of that 19 inches, for anybody who wants to Google this, is veins.
All 19 inches of veins.
I think it's 18 inches of muscle and 1 inch of vein.
I'd be down. Damn, it's fucking huge.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that probably half of our listeners don't have a dick as big as the vein running down his bicep.
Well, especially if we get shared on Reddit again.
Sure, you guys are all hung like donkeys.
So, if you guys, this one is, before we go over this one, I have to say this because we are a supplement company. We do not endorse hardcore drug usage. We do not endorse taking anything at all that is not legal in your country. We do not endorse anything like that. Don't get it fucking twisted. If you get it twisted, I'll rip your dick off. Don't worry about it. So, if you guys don't want to get into this, I understand. The guy is very understanding when it comes to our business. If someone was hypothetically looking to get into the dark arts, what would a beginner cycle look like? This hypothetical person is 37, if that makes a difference. Asking for a friend. By the way, bullshit. You're not asking for a friend. That is complete and utter bullshit. That is something that everybody says when they go to the doctor to get an STD test. No.
Oh, it's just like when somebody says no homo with something. You're really hot, no homo.
Totally homo.
No, you really want to see what my dick tastes like? It's all right. You just
Oh,
go ahead
wait
and
a
live with
minute. Wait a minute. That's a hell of an opening line. What does your dick taste like? No homo.
it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they might as well open with that.
Someone's gonna clip that, and it's gonna haunt me forever. So, dark arts. I'm guessing you mean PEDs, right? Performance enhancement.
I honestly, at first when I read that, I got all excited because I was like, "Ooh, I get to talk about the occult."
Oh, damn. Well, first of all, let's talk about the occult. Okay, what's a good way to get into that?
I would recommend reading "Wisdom of Eosphorus" by Michael Ford.
Hold on. These fucking police officers are being rude while I'm recording.
Sons of bitches.
God fucking damn it. I love you guys and I appreciate you, but don't be so loud. Okay, they're gone.
Yes, thank you for your service.
Thank you for service, yeah.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers. Go ahead.
It's called Wisdom of Eosphorus. It's by Michael J. Ford. It gives you a really good insight into just the basic ideas behind the left-hand path, which is, so like any esoterica really is left-hand path. It's in stark opposition to like Christianity, which is right-hand path, Buddhism, which is right-hand path. I mean, there's left-hand path Buddhism, but like any kind of asceticism or a very strict morality and things like that, that's all right-hand path. So the other stuff is, and this book is basically about, I mean, maybe you're not trying to specifically, maybe you don't believe that you could become a god, but the idea is that you make your own character as strong as humanly possible during your life. You make your physical being and your intellectual self and your spiritual being strong enough that your energy will transcend this plane of existence after you die.
Watch out, life coach Jamie Lewis. Watch out.
Yeah, I'm going to horn in on Swede and Carter and what the fuck is that other guy's name?
Stuff.
The fat guy from California, whatever his name is.
I have no
idea. One whose dick I've seen at least 3 times from girlfriends' phones. But
to be discussed later, but go ahead.
Yeah. It's the square method, something along those lines. In any event, now I've lost my train of thought altogether.
Also, you did it.
What did I do?
You said in any event.
Oh, well,
you did it. Everybody, take a shot. But go ahead.
They're already drunk from you fucking up left and right and upside down.
Oh, god dang it! All right.
But yeah. So that book is really phenomenal, and it's a pretty. I'd say even if you're not into the occult, but you just want a good piece of philosophy that you can really wrap your arms around and sink your teeth into. It's not a long read. It's got a very cool bit of meditation at the end, and that's a book that you can reread over and over, and it's well worth it. So it's worth the $15 or whatever. Like, don't steal it on the internet. Just take my word for it and fucking buy it. It's worth it.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing. Support authors, please.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna steal fucking books, steal them from people like shit that's a bestseller or something like that. But like, if it's somebody that, or like, I mean, Wendler's made his money. I think the guy's doing fine. From what I understand, he made like $1 million a month for a while. But I mean, the strength coaches out there like Bud Jeffries, and you know that the guys who are really busting their asses to give you good information and not just regurgitating like the most lame shit that has ever come through the strength training world.
Buy our ebooks.
Yeah. I just thought you could steal that shit, but for somebody who's really doing something innovative, so DIY, fucking support that shit.
Yeah. So I think we've dick teased enough. So, okay, I have to be very careful about the way I answer this because, again, we do not endorse blah, 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 whatever is not legal in your country. If it is legal in your country, then you know the laws, blah, 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 right? So, first and foremost, for people inside the U.S., shameless plug, the Chemical series on cnp.com is a great way to enter the realm of enhanced without entering the realm of illegality, right? But if, like, I don't like to shill too much, so we're going to go if you want to do the other route, okay? I highly suggest starting with your base test. Highly suggest it. Just do test. It is effective. We know that it's effective. You don't have to take very much of it. It's relatively inexpensive. You don't need much to go with it. It will make gains great again. So, your thoughts?
First, I would like to address the people who are going to invariably say, but I'm afraid of needles. Can I still get the gains? You know you can't get the fucking gains from orals. Like, you'll get the gains and then they'll go away. And then you'll get them again and then they'll go away. And then you'll whine and then you'll ask the same fucking question. And then you'll badger me with that question over and over and over. And I'll give you the same answer until finally you ask somebody else and they tell you to take fucking injectables. And then you ask 16 other people and they tell you to take injectables. And then you'll finally take fucking injectables. Don't even bother with the orals. Also, you don't have to do it
every day.
No. But I mean, if you can't handle the pain of a needle entering your ass cheek, then I don't even know how you're lifting weights in the first place anyway, but you're not lifting hard enough that it's making any kind of fucking difference.
No. See, Test E is subcutaneous. You can do it subcutaneous. It's fine.
Can you really?
Yep.
So I just pinned Test E in my ass, and because I got a free bottle of it, and how do you even do a subcutaneous? Is it like a?
We'll talk about it later. We're not here for
Yeah. Oh, that's right. We're not allowed to give directions. Oh, well, can you just tell me? Is it the same way you would do GHRP6 or melanotan 2?
Hypothetically, yes.
Okay. Well, then that's all I need to know. Thank you. And that's good to know because that's much less. So there you go, guys. If
people don't have to be pussies now.
No, because you can use. Because I'm not giving you directions on, but I'm saying hypothetically, if you were to do it, and you were to say know somebody who was diabetic, you could use you could consider using their pins for that rather than an actual, scary needle.
And if your diabetic friend needs more, they can always get it from Walmart with no questions asked.
Yeah, and even in states where it's prohibited, they will still sell you 10 at a time. And for like $1 a piece.
You can order them online. Anyway.
Yeah. We're not going to tell you where.
No.
No. The website I get it from, it's not bulk syringes, so don't go to that website. But I don't even know what's on that website. But
Never. No.
No.
But that being said, you would suggest test, right?
I am a sus guy. I'm sus all day long.
Okay.
I'm sus in the morning, sus in the evening, sus in. Well, however the rest of that song goes.
Basically, bagel bites. You can have pizza in the morning. You can have pizza anytime.
No. This was something in the morning, something in the evening, something in the banana. It's like an old-timey song.
I'm just hungry right now. That's why I have pizza bagels on my mind.
I ate a hoagie that had. There's an IGA down the street where they. Actually, all of the places where I can get a hoagie within a mile of my house, they all roast their own beef. So, like, it's none of that, like, weird, shiny lunch meat shit. It's, like, actual, legit rare roast beef. Yeah, yes. Fucking awesome. So I just ate a pound of that shit, and I am still quite full, actually.
Full and happy. So being 37 doesn't matter. I will say that being 37 is an advantage because if anything does go awry, you're more likely to be prescribed TRT. If you do end up deciding you don't, if you don't recover from it, right? So being over 35 is an advantage in this case. And again, I will say it, and I will say it every podcast if I have to. No one should be running gear before 32. No one. Right.
It's stupid, it's irresponsible, and it's counterproductive. You'll burn yourself out, and you're not going to... Like, I am still making gains. Every time I enter the gym right now, I'm still fucking making gains. I'm putting up stupid amounts of weight right now. And it's because I didn't start running gear until my mid-30s. And also, I will just let myself crash and my system rebounds. Right. Because I didn't fuck up my endocrine system when I was in my 20s.
Especially before 25.
I didn't know Thor was 25. I had no, because he has this big-ass beard. I had no idea. What's his real name?
Andrew Lorino.
Yeah. I didn't know he was 25. So he was talking about how he destroyed his system and he's going to have to be on TRT the rest of his life. And I was like, what are you talking about, man? Like, just give it a few months, you'll be fine. And he's freaking the fuck out. And I was just like, I don't understand why you're spazzing right now. Well, now I know, because he's been running gear since he was like 18.
Well, with that being said...
yeah, that's a good way to chemically castrate yourself.
Hell yeah. But being 37, it doesn't make a difference on how... You're going to see more benefit from it than if you were like 21.
Yeah.
So, I will say that it's going to make you feel younger. 100%.
That's most of the reason why I do it.
Also, when it comes to being, 37, I mean, I would also like to know how long you've been training, because that matters too. Like, if you're in the first year or two of training, don't, right?
Yeah, you make a good point
there. If you're, 5, 7, 8 years of training, that's the point where you can kind of, be indulgent, right? I don't want people to sit there and squander away the gains that they're going to make within the first 1 to 5 years of their whole fitness journey, because they want what they think is quicker results, but you gain muscle pretty fucking fast within that first year to 5. So,
also, if you start running gear too early, and I think this is the problem that Andrew's going to have, is if you start running gear too early, you do not have any conception of the fact that you can do it on your own, and it becomes a psychological addiction. Because you will convince yourself you're going to get fat and weak and sad if you're not on gear.
Also, you don't even know how to do the lifts yet.
Yeah.
You can... Here's me being honest with people who are thinking about going into the dark arts, and we're not talking about the occult here. You can get stronger than your tendons. You can rip things off the bone if you're not careful. And you can fuck yourself up from a physical injury standpoint by, I'm a year trainee, I'm going to jump on gear, I'm going to start, you go from like a 135 squat all the way up to a 600, and then just things go pop, So with that being said, I think that you have to have some base strength foundation there before you... I mean, it's just better. It's a better way of doing it. That's, so that's my opinion anyway. So you just say straight test, right? Because I would say, and I mean, nobody runs cycles anymore, but when you're first starting out, just run one thing. Keep it simple. The KISS method. Yeah. Don't, like we said in the, was it in the Gear Tangent podcast that we had or whatever? Don't play all your cards at once. May have been the nutrition one. But that's another, I love that analogy because it basically applies to everything. Like, if you start throwing a bunch of fucking compounds at it, it's not going to be more effective than one right off the bat. I mean, you're going to gain... Let's just say, hypothetically, you gain 20 pounds off your first quote-unquote cycle, right? Not unrealistic. So 20 pounds, if you add another compound, you might gain 25, but it's not that much more, and it's not going to benefit you that much more, right? Wait, and, when you run multiple compounds, it's because you've been on one compound for a while, or switching things up because you're an experienced user or something like that. So you can gain from one compound, you can gain a lot over a long period of time off of just one. So people tend to think more is better, though. So, and that's sometimes to their disservice. So, but I think we've covered that one. So, this one is not necessarily a question. You okay to go to the next question?
Yeah.
Anything to add?
For this Darksider, when he does start adding stuff in, I assume that he's going to want to... never mind about that. If you really want something that's going to blow you up, apparently the thing is, like, if you can't grow on this, you can't grow. It's Deca, Test, and Devo. So that's, like, if you just want to blow it out your first time and not listen to anything anybody says, go for that. But also, another thing that's awesome about waiting until you're in your 30s is that in their 20s, at least in my generation, in their 20s, everybody still looks good because most of my friends played college sports. I
can tell you right now, that's completely fucking ruined in this generation. Holy fuck. You have a bunch of homely looking guys at like fucking 21.
Everybody still looked reasonably good into their 20s. But in their 30s, now everybody's got kids, they're fat, they're lazy, so you start running gear in your 30s and you show up to your like 25-year reunion fucking covered in veins and weighing 250 pounds, people are going to line up to blow you. But,
right.
Yeah.
And they won't be your wife.
Yeah.
But, with that being said, be responsible. Again, Chaos and Pain does not endorse anything that's not legal in your country, blah, blah, blah. Disclaimer. So.
Yeah.
Next question it is. Not necessarily a question for the podcast. Will the Hatecast be available through places like iTunes and Google Play, etc.? So I put this one in, although it's not a question necessarily for the podcast, but we're going to answer it anyway. Stitcher is coming in the later months of this year. Apple Podcasts is coming in the later months of this year. And SoundCloud, we are just waiting for the gun to be pulled on paying for SoundCloud so that we can have unlimited upload. Once we do that, I will mass upload all of the episodes onto SoundCloud so that they're all available to be played on there. And then that will be SoundCloud, Stitcher, and iTunes, or Apple Podcast, whatever the fuck they want to call it now, will all be available on a 3-day buffer. So YouTube first, other platforms 3-day buffer. So that takes care of 2 questions. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. Okay.
Jeez. All right.
I know we got a lot. So this one should be easy. So different times of day training and twice a day training. What do we think about that?
You want to go first?
Yeah. So if you have a problem with motivation, morning training is the way to go because you get it out of the way, you're done. Otherwise, I would suggest that everybody, sincerely, I think that everybody would be better at training later. Not because, there's studies that go back and forth. They say you're stronger in the morning, you're stronger in the evening, blah, blah, blah. You're less prone to injury in the evening, in my experience anyway, right? So I would suggest people start training in the evening. Plus, you get all your shit done, and then you get to play, right? That's what I personally am starting to do. And 2-a-day trainings, 2 days, I don't see the point in them. But that's just me. I know they would not work for me. It's just, you're going to drive to the gym, and then you're going to go back home, shower, do what you need to do, come back, train again, go home, shower. It's like the majority of your day is now spent at the gym, and it's may not be wasted because you might be competing, you might be doing whatever, blah blah blah. But it's a little much. I mean, you slow your roll. I know Arnold did it, or other people did it, or whatever, but that doesn't give you an excuse to do that. I mean, if you like it, fine, but if you don't, it's not better than once a day training. So, what about you?
Evening training because your spine and sorry, my allergies are fucking killing me. Also, I was while you were talking, I was literally I had my mic muted and was just coughing my head off.
Oh, don't
my eyes are watering. Anyway, evening training because the way your natural testosterone levels ebb and flow, you peak again about 6 p.m. So between 6 and 8 p.m. is a great time to train. That's right when you get off work, so you just leave work, go right to the gym. It's perfect. Also, your spine isn't lubricated in the morning, so if you are trying to squat first thing in the morning, you are going to compress discs, you're going to fuck them up because they're like your spinal fluid pools while you're sleeping. It's not circulating as well. So you have to like walk around and move around in order to get it going, and in order to get your your discs lubricated.
Right.
So I've never had any problem with compressed discs or anything like that. I can't really. I honestly think it's just something that happens to old people, but apparently it happens to fucking millennials, like left, right, and upside down.
We do know they suck, though. They
what, compressed discs?
Yeah, yeah.
I halfway think it's just people bullshitting and they don't feel like working out. But I feel like hernias are that as well. Like, I honestly feel, I'm just like, that just doesn't happen. Like, how the fuck does a 25-year-old get a hernia? It just, how?
That's new to me. I don't know.
So, yeah, so evening training. I only do two-a-days when I'm training for a competition or I'm bored. I don't see any problem with doing two-a-days. The way I used to do my two-a-days was I worked the 10 to 7 shift in software. I would wake up at 8, pound a protein shake, drag my ass over to the gym, do a bunch of light stuff in the morning, pull-ups, dips, biceps, triceps, stuff like that. Then take a shower, go to work, and then right after work, go back to the gym and have my heavy lifting session at that time. For recreational trainees, like all these people get a bug up their ass. They want to train 1,000,000 times a day, which is fine, but it's not sustainable. And they'll delude themselves into thinking, oh, well, I'm going to train 3 times a day all summer. I mean, in the summers in between college semesters, my buddies and I would train between 1 and 3 times a day. But that was like we all had weights at our houses, so we would we'd have random curling challenges, like in between like laying out by the pool and going swimming, or we'd play basketball and then like randomly get in a couple sets of curls kind of thing. And then we would have a heavy lift that night. I don't see it. It's not necessary to plan everything out. I don't understand why everybody's obsessed with that. All this shit about Boris Shiko, he can get fucked. Like, he should have fucking stayed in Siberia, and I don't understand why that shit has come to the U.S., and I don't know why it's infected people's brains, but we need to get rid of it.
I have no clue.
Like, if I got to go to fucking Russia and whack that fucker myself, that fat fuck. He just posted some video apparently about how, like, if you're trying to kickbox and lift weights and power lift all at the same time, then you're just fucking up. And it's like, who the fuck has he coached? Because, like, he hasn't coached anybody since the 90s who was worth a shit. Who fucking cares what he has to say?
That brings us to this. What do we think about full body training?
I don't have a problem with full body training. The problem with, I do full body training, really. I mean, yesterday I did front squats, overhead presses, and good mornings.
Okay. Do you think that there is a slight edge given to body part split or full body?
I'd give it to the body parts, honestly. You end up with a better physique.
Yeah. Is that just because of the aesthetic or the strength aspect of it?
Both. Because people who get into full body training fall into the trap of skipping arms, skipping any kind of light shoulder work, skipping shit like leg curls or leg extensions. Like, they'll skip little shit that over time they are missing minor movements that will, like, because you're missing them for long stretches of time. You know, if you're doing these full body routines where you're like, fuck arms, I don't need to do arms, I'm not one of those fucking curling faggots. Well, guess what? Those curling faggots are pulling all the bitches in the gym, for one. And for another, you at some point need biceps in order to do something. Bill Kazmaier said he credited his big bench with the fact that his hammer curls were so fucking strong. Right. He would never miss a session of hammer curls, ever. Like, they're just necessary muscle groups you need to train, and also you look better for having done it. So I have a problem with full body training in that people will get all these pompous fucking ideas about exercises or body parts they should skip. And you just shouldn't.
Yeah. See, I'm of the same opinion too. I also come from a different world than you do. I'm more in the physique, bodybuilding, and stuff like that. you can build a better aesthetic looking physique, at least from what I've witnessed, right? In my experience, a little asterisk up there, from body part splits.
And I still maintain your average bodybuilder is stronger by far than your average powerlifter by body weight. I mean by far and away.
Well, yeah, to be fair, have you seen videos of Kevin Levrone at like 50-something?
No, I haven't watched any of his recent videos, but I knew he made a comeback, but he placed like 14th or something in the Olympia, didn't he?
Yeah, but he's over 50. The first thing to go when you're over 50 is like your legs.
Albert Beckles, though, he was like 55 competing in the Olympia, and he was placing all right.
Yeah, but all right doesn't mean number one, and that's kind of just the.
Well, Albert Beckles never placed number one in the Olympia.
I know, but that's.
But he always looked great, though.
Oh yeah. Well, if you get to the Olympia stage, you look good, honestly. But I mean, number one is what people care about, or number two. I mean, number two is okay too. You get some good deals on there, and you get some good exposure. But
at age 55, he placed 7th in the Olympia.
Who?
Albert Beckles. At 54, he placed 4th. Or no, wait. At 56. Yeah, because he was born in 1930. In the 1986 Olympia, he placed 4th.
Okay. This one's.
I mean, that's fucking legit. 56.
Oh, yeah.
And in 85, he placed 2nd.
Oh, 2nd?
Yeah, 2nd in 85. He won the Night of Champions in 85. He was 55 years old. And I remember in the 90s, like, nobody knew how fucking old he was. They referred to him as the ageless Albert Beckles. They knew he had been competing forever, but they didn't know how fucking old he was.
Well, he is one of those people that seems to age in reverse, too. Like, you've seen pictures of him when he was younger,
Yeah.
Or just kind of put a pause button on that aging button. So.
Yeah, he's a fucking vampire, that guy.
So, this is another question. More different exercises, less sets, or less different exercises, more sets? Example, 3 chest exercises for 5 sets each, or 5 chest exercises for 3 sets each. So, the 5 chest exercises for 3 sets each, that's a lot of variation. I mean, that's excessive to me. But, I mean, honestly, it really, doesn't really matter that much, I don't think. So, what are your opinions on that?
I definitely tend more towards the more sets on a single exercise. That was an old school Ironman thing. It was basically like just pick an exercise for your workout and do it until you're done.
Yeah. It was also an old school strength thing too, like being very specific as to what you build strength for. So
yeah, but it was
bench more.
Ironman magazine was really just into like old school shit. So like that's I guess how I picked it up. And I tend to do better off that because whether it's greasing the groove like Pavel says, or you're just like building, you're building that mind muscle connection, whatever you want to call it. I feel like that has more benefit, but by the same token, I would say you'd be better off doing 5 sets each of 2 different exercises than 10 sets of 1 sometimes. It can really go either way. Because I can find, there was a guy in the 90s who he would do 1 set of like 9 different exercises, but he would do this set. It was like super slow. Like the whole exercise was super slow, but then he would add in drop sets and fucking partial reps and like all kinds of craziness. And he had like 25-inch arms. And this was before synthol. Yeah. But I can never find that guy's name anymore. Somebody once emailed it to me, and then I promptly lost it again. But he was a Mr. America in the 90s.
The one thing I will say is adding 1 isolation exercise for a body part is probably a good idea, though, as a variation.
I would agree with that. And I also, we've really gotten away from them in the in the current era, but people don't use intensity multipliers anymore, and I think that they should. Like drop sets or strip sets or partial reps or forced reps.
Well, that's because everybody's worried about overtraining, bro.
Oh, Christ.
Overtraining. You're gonna overtrain your biceps at an RPE of 9.
I still don't understand what the fuck that means.
I know, and it's beautiful. It's just a way for math nerds to equate something in a spreadsheet. Is what it is. It's like percentages of your max, but it's based on how you feel, right? So
but they'll
basically,
say like 70% RPE 7. What is the 70%?
70% of how you feel. So, you know what? People have tried explaining it to us before. Just keep doing it. We'll eventually get it.
I think people should just stop doing. I think it's all bullshit.
That would be a good podcast.
Stupid ass way for people to. You know what? We should have somebody on here to try to explain it to us. I will get graphing paper for it. I will be ready for this. We'll do it on. That'll be our first. Well, let's make that our first videoed. The first thing we video that we live stream the video. Let's do it as somebody explaining to us how to do RPE. And I will have graphing paper. I'll put a fucking whiteboard on the wall.
Yeah, well, all it's going to be is like your forehead's going to be bloody from you just ramming your head into your desk over and over again. And he's just going to say another word, and it's just going to be bam, bam, bam. It's going to be glorious. But yeah, back to the original question, it's like, what do you like? That's kind of...
That's what I've been saying forever, and I actually just had this argument with somebody. He was a Ripito fan, and I was like, you guys are missing the key to success altogether. And he was like, well, I know that it's, rest and nutrition and this and that and the other thing. And I was like, it's how much you enjoy what you're fucking doing. All that other shit doesn't matter. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're going to suck at it. The end.
Another thing that these people, all of the people who have, even yourself, right? You have a training method. Mark Ripto has a training method. Other people have training methods. Every person that has a training method that is extremely good at what they're doing has all found out what works for them. And unfortunately, the bullshit answer I'm going to give you when it comes to what's better is, what do you think's better? What have you tried? Have you tried it? Did it work for you? Did you get good gains off of it? If you're doing good gains, keep doing that. Don't change a thing. Good. Like, that's the simple truth of it, and people want a better answer than that, and I'm kind of lost on how to give them a better answer. It's like, experiment. Try it. If it doesn't work, fucking put it in the trash can and move on. I don't know. I just get heated. Man. But, yeah, I think we've answered that one. So, you have anything else to add?
I have a question for you since you're a bodybuilding guy.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at some bodybuilders right now. I was looking up Albert Beckles, and a picture of Dexter Jackson came up, and then I was going to ask you, is his entire career...
No, I don't do K for pay.
Talking shit now. Well, that makes half of us. Okay. So they all are on synthol now, huh?
So...
Because Dexter Jackson used to be the aesthetics guy.
Yeah.
He is not the aesthetics guy. He's like apparently a mass monster now.
One of the problems with synthol right now, and I'm talking about true synthol, true site enhancement oil, right? I'm not talking about the, because you'll see a lot of places like Generation Iron and all that stuff misspeak about what synthol is, right? They have that Egyptian guy on, he's the synthol freak, blah, blah, blah. It's not synthol. That's actual oil that doesn't degrade, right? So the original synthol breaks down. The stuff
it's lidocaine and like MCT oil, right?
Right, something like that. It's site enhancement oil. The stuff that they're injecting over there is basically motor oil. It doesn't get broken down by the body. It's there's crazy stories about it being jet fuel or whatever. It's something else. It's not synthol at all.
What has made Dexter Jackson look like a fucking cartoon when he is the same height and lighter than me.
Trying to compete with Rolly Winkler. Or, I'm sorry, Big Ramy.
What is it? But what is that? Like, his pecs look like balloons. Everything looks like a balloon. And when his arms are at rest, like, his biceps are sagging into his forearms.
He had specifically Dexter Jackson, right? Or Dexter Wolf?
No, Dexter Jackson.
Oh.
That's Dennis Wolf.
Dennis Wolf, sorry. I don't know with him, but I know Dennis has some of that going on right now because he had a chest injury and he's trying to come back. Like, so he's probably using some synthol, right? I don't know with Dexter Jackson. Man, I just think that everybody's trying to compete with Big Ramy and how big he's getting, because he is not necessarily the Olympias champion, but he is the people's champion right now, right? I mean, you've noticed that he's just massively popular and everybody's wanting to be like him. Kind of like how Dorian Yates, you know, when he came into the bodybuilding scene, he put on that mask. They were like, oh my God, I didn't know that was possible, but I've got to do that, right? Richard Gaspari, when he brought shredded glutes into bodybuilding, everybody said, that's weird, but cool, I'm going to do that, right? And it's kind of the same thing with Big Ramy. We're kind of seeing a resurgence of the mass monsters. And because of that, some people, you know, Ramy has this almost, it seems, uncapped potential for mass, right? He's that type of bull that has no myostatin or something.
Yeah, myostatin inhibitor.
So, and it's kind of crazy when you look at him in comparison to people like Phil Heath. He dwarfs Phil Heath when it comes to how big he is, not how aesthetic he looks, right? So when it comes down to it, people are wanting to either be competing against Phil Heath, which is more shredded, more aesthetic, everything like that, or Big Ramy, because those are the two names that are being talked about right now.
Holy balls! He's 330 now.
Yeah, Big Ramy. Yeah.
Fucking shredded. Who stays that lean in the off season?
Who?
Big Ramy.
Yeah.
Shredded. Like, he could walk out on stage right now.
Yeah, he's over there with the Bader Budai and the Camel Crew, right? So he's over there, and Bader Budai is a guy who basically sits there, and I would love to interview the guy. He sits there, he's this billionaire, he hangs out on his yacht all the time. He funds bodybuilders. He gives them, and you can get actual human grade, like pharmaceutical grade, like growth hormone and stuff like that, over the counter over there. He just says, don't worry about all your finances. I'm going to pay for you a place to live, all that other shit. I'm going to pay for your gym. We have a gym. They have their own gym and stuff like that.
Oh, is that in Dubai or whatever?
It's in Kuwait.
Oh.
Yeah. So he basically...
Meanwhile, they're like chucking acid on chicks that are trying to bodybuild and like arresting them and chasing them all over the place.
That is an interesting topic that
fucking
we will
retarded.
cover in another, because that is a problem. That is unexcusable.
They're just terrible people. I like, and to anybody who is a big fan of Islam, I don't know what to tell you. If you have a defense that isn't you're terrible people, I'd like to hear it, because I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Trump fan. I'm not any of those. I just don't understand why you want to beat the shit out of women and throw acid on people. It's just not how you. That's not a way to live.
That has more to do with the culture over there too. Like, even if they're not part of Islam. But with that being said, when it comes to that synthol stuff, everybody's trying to compete with Big Ramy, and all he does is he sleeps, eats, trains, and they literally have him like laying down in a recliner to recover and doing all these saunas and all this other shit. Just like the perfect bodybuilding lifestyle is being put in front of Big Ramy, and he's being a part of that, you know? So you really can't compete with that level of dedication, because his trip is paid for, you know? His spot is made. And a lot of the bodybuilders now want to compete with him, and because of that, they're using more synthol than they have ever used before. They were using more drugs than they've ever used before. I mean, you know, there's been a couple of different deaths now in the bodybuilding world, and it all has to do with, enlarged hearts. Some of them are enlarged hearts or cardiac issues, all that stuff, because they're just chasing that dragon. They're chasing Big Ramy, I believe, anyway, right? But yeah, I don't know. We kind of got off on a tangent there.
You want to get off on a worse tangent? Because I was just trying to look up a picture of oh my God, man. The hole I just went down, I just want to throw up on myself right now. Like, I keep getting these MGTOW pussies adding me. And, like, do you know what MGTOW is?
Please explain it for me.
Men going their own way. It's dudes who have had, like, a woman leave them or whatever, so they're, like, incels, and they're angry as shit. Like, these guys, they might as well be Islamic, because, like, they will beat the shit out of a woman just for, like, crossing the street. But, so they called Big Ramy in this picture, like, a gym cell. And I'm not even certain. I assume that's a person, that's an incel who goes to the gym to try to get laid?
So basically every single guy who's trying to fill up time.
Yeah, but it's on this website called lookism.net, the forefront of the coping movement. And they actually have a board on here called Aesthetics, Red Pill, and Masculinity Discussion. And then one of the sub-boards is Looks Maxing.
Okay. We'll go through that on another podcast. By the way, we're bringing off-topic podcast to the channel. This channel, by the way, guys. So
yes,
not fitness related. They will be.
Yeah, we'll
labeled,
have a sidebar one.
They will be labeled. Hatecast sidebar. Okay, that's fine. We'll do it.
I just got to read this real quick. Some shortcomings the regular Looks Maxing guy has that they wear the wrong colors and pluck their eyebrows with a feminine arch instead of a straight line. And it goes on from there.
Okay, next question. How important do you all think is violence in lifting? Very.
Yeah, I made that banner over the weekend because I think that lifting is an inherently violent thing. And I'm not saying you have to commit. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to commit violence against another person. Like, aggression doesn't have to be violence, and lifting doesn't have to be violence against other people. You can be violence against a heavy bag, against weights. I mean, for me, it's violence against gravity. But it's supposed to be aggressive and primal, and I'm actually writing an article about this. Some people, people who suffer from really high anxiety or have low self-esteem, do not do well by getting super fired up to lift. Those people get overly anxious, and it fucks up their lifting.
Right.
But for people who don't suffer from high anxiety or low self-esteem, getting super hyped really lends itself to lifting heavy weights.
Well, also, he had mentioned in this question, that a lot of the fighters who are overly violent can have less technique and go further than the guys who are not very violent and have more technique. I would say that's true in fighting especially.
It's true in lifting too. There's that old adage, the enemy of good is better.
Yeah. And
it's because if you're constantly trying to be perfect rather than just be good and go at it hard as shit, if you're one of those fucking people that stays at 135 pounds, squatting and squatting and squatting, trying to perfect your technique before you add any weight, you will never go anywhere. And also, you've completely lost track of what lifting's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be aggressive. You're not doing either of those things by being perfect in your technique.
Yeah. Also, I will say that, I wouldn't say, because there's a negative feeling towards the word violence, right? People often associate that with, beating people up or being an asshole or whatever, right? So let's just call it aggression, right? So aggression is something, it's one of the tools in our wheelhouse that makes us powerful. It's one of the tools in our wheelhouse that can affect almost every venue of life, right? Like, you have to have some balls to ask your boss for a raise. You have to have some balls to kind of, it's that is missing in lifting right now, because people are afraid to push themselves using that aggression, using that very primal side of them, because it's against their training, and they'll overtrain and they'll hurt themselves and all that shit. Well, just fucking get aggressive. Fucking get your blood running. I mean, if you're not, it's the most wonderful feeling in the world to me to get ultra, turn on some metal, get ultra fucking fired up, pace back and forth in the gym, act like I'm a fucking monster and fucking tear some fucking weights up. Do you know how much that has improved my mental health? I mean, let alone my physical health. It's made me a better person. It's made me a better, lifter. It's made me have significantly more gains than if I were to go in there like, I don't want to sweat too much. I don't want to fucking, I don't want to go overtrain or shit like that. I mean, just be fucking, I don't know how to say it other than just be a man. I mean,
be an animal. Like actually you were talking about pacing back and forth. I've always paced back and forth, like staring at the weight in between sets. And
that's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't ever a conscious thing. It's just something I've always done. And then I read this book about Soma Pharaoh, which is it's also known as Berserker Gang. It's the frenzied state that berserkers would go into.
Hell yeah.
Those people have existed in practically every culture on the planet. There were Dacian wolf people in Romania. The Chinese had a kind. There have been the whirling dervishes and things like that. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways to reach an ecstatic trance and go fucking ham sandwich.
Right.
And pacing is actually one of the most primal, because if you look at wolves, you'll see them when they see a threat. They lock eyes with it and they start pacing and snarling back and forth.
Circle.
Yeah. And it activates your CNS. It gets your, like, I'm actually, my hair standing up on my arms thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like, it activates your CNS. Your adrenal system kicks in. Your mind is literally primed that just doing that will change your entire body chemistry. So you will become stronger just by doing those things. Now, I don't know if it's something that can be learned if you don't do it already. And like I said, it's for people who are very, very anxious or have low self-esteem, and I'm not denigrating those people. I'm not bagging on them at all. And the article is actually, it's about whether you should achieve like a meditative calm or a frenzy before lifting. And there are two very distinct types of people that need to do one or the other. So I'm not promoting the one over the other. It's just that I can't really speak to the meditative part, because every time I've ever tried to meditate, I fall asleep, and it's just I'm not built for it.
I'm not that type of person either. No. So.
But you read about Frank Zane and Vince Scaranda and people like that. And there are also powerlifters like that. Doug Furness in the 80s, or the 90s, he was known as the Iceman. Basically, any Russian you ever see has cold, dead eyes, and they just walk up and pick up the weight, unless it's Kolkayev or something like that, and that's because he's drunk and probably on his way to kill somebody after he lifts.
Hey, to be fair, but it's one of those things where you just tap into that primal, and you know what? If you have, I know there's a bunch of people listening, and if you're into strength training at all, you probably have a little bit of an anger issue anyway. Like, that's what I've found, because that stuff runs rampant in fitness scene too.
What's funny about that though? The people will always talk shit on fitness style gyms, and actually a bunch of my friends, since I posted pictures of my gym, have started referring to it as the water park, because my gym has two-story water slides. But we also have 12 racks and 12 platforms in my gym.
Hell yeah.
And my arms pump now are about 18 and a half. And my arms are dwarfed by at least 4 guys that are in my shift of lifters that have 20-inch arms or bigger.
Yeah.
A couple of them are competitive bodybuilders. And in spite of that fact, I have never in my life had more people randomly like say what's up to me, have a good lift. Like chicks are real friendly in there. Everybody's serious as shit in that gym, but everybody's chill as fuck. Yeah. It's super cool. But you go to like a powerlifting gym or something like that, they're all fucking backbiting and talking shit, and like everybody's in the corner fucking whispering like a bitch. So.
But I was just gonna say, like, I have my own, anger issues. Like, I'm willing to admit that I can be a complete and utter asshole if because I explode and then I calm down, right?
Not me. I'm a sweetheart.
Well, I'm a sweetheart most of the time too. But if someone pisses me off, I explode and then calm down.
I was being facetious. Although people do say that often that I'm a really nice guy when you get to know me, but
yeah. But, and I think that the gym has helped me control that out of the gym, too. It's like whenever I lift, I go in there, I burn that energy off, I fucking get aggressive, I dig deep, and I don't know, I fucking, like, it's something turns on in my head, right? Where I can deal with the stuff out of the gym a little bit better, So, like, don't fucking hide your aggression in the gym. Like, fucking go for it, People are so afraid of being, like, seen as that guy, right? He's throwing on weights or whatever. Like, fucking go in there, do some things like benching, squatting, deadlifting, stuff like that. It's so primal just to get aggressive while you're doing that. I think everybody could benefit more from being aggressive, more aggressive than they are already. And that's just my personal opinion. Fucking go in there and fucking kill them. Kill the weights.
Yep.
And that leads us to our last question. I actually combined the word next and last, so lexed is what I said. It'd be fine. There we go. I'll say it anyway. You're already drunk by now anyway. So thanks for including my previous question about fasting. I just put a hold on the hunger book Jamie recommended. Here's another set of questions about keeping a small waist. What do you think about stomach vacuums? Any training tips? Do waist trainers work? Is the middle-aged beer belly caused by beer? That's an interesting one. So I'll let you go ahead and answer these.
So I've had, because I've always squatted as heavy as humanly possible, I've always had a wide waist, especially for my frame, because I'm naturally a really small guy. So I became obsessed with doing vacuums, starting like in college, and then I'll periodically go through periods of it. Basically, I'll notice when I'm at rest because I've been training so heavy, and because like I don't really train abs all that much because I do shit like 545-pound front squats that really like tax the shit out of your abs. So I don't really train them a lot, and my abs have great muscle tonus, but they're not as tight necessarily as they could be as when you do vacuums. So I found that doing vacuums will actually, like, as much as I hate to use the term trim your waist, it will keep you relaxed, like your abs when you're relaxed. It'll keep them from kind of pooching out a bit.
Keeps like your shit tight.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really understand I assume it's because you're training your TVA, your transverse abdominis, to tighten up. So what I would do is I would do a vacuum, like suck it in as far as I possibly could, and I'll actually hold my sides with, like, I'll pinch them in between my thumb and my forefinger, trying to like kind of measure how far I've sucked in, and I'll hold that for like a 20-second count, or basically until I'm about to pass out, and then I'll let it out, and I'll do that maybe 5 or 6 times, like over the course of 10 minutes or something like that, and doing that seems to really kind of flatten my abs when I'm at rest, because otherwise you can do this too, which is what I do, especially now that I'm bulking, is I'll just keep my abs tight when I walk around. Like, I consciously keep my abs tight. Like, right now I'm sitting in my fucking basement, I'm not keeping my abs tight. But if I'm walking down the street, abs are tight at all times.
Yeah. So I have some opinions on this.
Oh, well, you're the guy who needs to chime in on this.
People have this misconception that if you squat, bench, and deadlift heavy enough, or you lift heavy enough, that your waist will blow up to the point where you have a power keg, right? Like you see most powerlifters walk around with that have extremely high body fat. If you have low body fat, belly distension and all that stuff should not be a fucking problem. If you're genetically prone to it, you will be genetically prone to it. Everyone's abs look different. Some people have a 12-pack, some people have a 4-pack. That is just the fucking cards you're dealt.
Yeah, there is no way you're able to make more abs.
And you're not able to thicken your waist to the point where it looks weird, right? Generally speaking. You can make your waist a little bit, and I'm talking probably not enough for people not on a bodybuilding stage to notice, a little bit more tight, keeping everything tight by doing what Jamie suggested, ab vacuums, stuff like that. But I can tell you from knowing how exactly the transverse abdominis works, how the obliques work, how the erectus abdominis works, all that stuff, you're not going to get 3 inches off your waist by doing that, right? That's just weird and asinine, and that I think that's a myth that's been bred by physique guys wearing a belt while they do rows because they think that their waist is going to get too big so that they're scored weird on stage, right? I just don't think it has that big of an impact. If you want a small waist, keep your body fat low, right? Train your abs, of course, because everybody wants to see obliques and abs through your shirt, right? That is something very desirable, because guess what? Nobody knows you have abs if you have a shirt on unless they're sticking out, right? So, like, if that's important to you, like you see in movies where they're wearing that tight shirt and then they have these rippling abs that you can see through their white shirt that's obviously like they have lighting and everything right and all that shit. If you want that look, you want thick, well-defined abs. You're not going to get a gigantic waist from training abs. You need to get that out of your head. You need to concentrate on training your abs, because the stronger your abs are, the better your lifts are going to be. Generally.
For fuck's sake, I don't want to see anybody who listens to this podcast or reads my blog, for fuck's sake, do not, under any circumstance, do those goddamn oblique exercises where you're holding a dumbbell and you're doing oblique crunches. I don't ever want to see it. And if you do them, stop listening to this podcast, because you're an idiot.
I'm more of a fan of if you really want to work your obliques, because you don't necessarily need to work them unless you're like bodybuilder type, right? If you want to work your obliques, wood chops or wood choppers or whatever they want to, they have a bunch of different fucking names, right? They work a lot better. It also has more power transfer over to other lifts, because it doesn't just work your obliques, right? I mean, you're holding the rope, you're either punching or stabilizing the weight in some way. It's going to make things stronger. Go ahead.
Just because I think we all have a perception of what we think the opposite sex would like, and I've been informed that I actually have a significant but very stealthy percentage of my blog readers who are female, and so they would attest to this if they weren't ninjas, but since they're ninjas, they can just smile right now while they listen to this. But there's actually been a study done where they showed women, and I don't know, like for gay men, it goes an entirely different way. Bud Jeffries and I were discussing our respective gay populations, but his tend to effeminate Filipino boys. Like he has a lot of effeminate Filipino men who are
shout out
his
if
fans.
you're in the Filipino.
Yeah.
if you're Filipino and you're effeminate and you're
I'm
looking
not
for...
I'm not a fan of Filipinos, and it's not because I have anything against them. Every Filipino chick I've ever hooked up with had a rough tongue like a cat, and their mouths were always cold, so making out with them was not fun.
I once dated a chick that was Filipino. Her father was Cuban, and that was a very, very fast-talking household. Let me tell you something. If you were to ever get into a fight with her, holy shit, get ready for her to speak about 77 miles per hour. It's fucking crazy.
But back to this. So there was a study done. It compared Brad Pitt to Henry Rollins at his skinniest, like when he was in Bad Religion or Bad Brains or whatever the fuck it was. And then a UFC heavyweight whose name escapes me, Cain Velasquez, and then a UFC light heavyweight who appears to be like Chuck Liddell or something like that. Then who the hell is the other guy? Some like skinny twink-looking dude with covered in tattoos who looks like he's on heroin, and then Frank Zane. And so when they filtered the girls who self-identify as athletes, Brad Pitt was at 54%, Cain Velasquez was 31%, and Frank Zane, the bodybuilder, was 15%. So being jacked and ripped is not necessarily what women want. And if the girls are creatives, artists...
bar slags, though. If you
absolutely.
Show your abs, yeah.
Oh, I've done that many times. Yeah. But if they're creatives, artists, or musicians, it flips. So Brad Pitt goes up to 73%. Henry Rollins goes up to 16.5%. The heavyweight gets 6.7%, and Frank Zane gets 0.
Yeah.
So basically, you're better off being bigger and thicker or lean and mean. And the rest of it is not really going to impress the chicks.
We're talking Fight Club, Brad Pitt.
Yeah, that. It was Brad Pitt in Fight Club.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would have to agree with that. Women actually like bigger guys now because it's boy, they thick.
Dude, I've been getting genuinely like flirtatious chicks in the gym recently, which is blowing my mind because I have never had a chick flirt with me in the gym that I've noticed. I mean, it has to be really overt for me to notice it, and I'm seeing it every day basically now. So, and I mean, I could count on one hand the number of times chicks have flirted with me in the gym prior to the gym I'm lifting in now. So,
are you a lot like I am and just don't notice it? Like, a woman pretty much has to come up and say, "Hey, I would like to suck your dick," and then that would be enough. She used to slap me in the face with wet panties, and I'm like, "Yeah,
well, that was odd. Why are your panties wet?" And then I have to stop and think, and I'm like, "Oh, perhaps she's turned on. I wonder who she's turned on by." I mean, it's rough. I'm bad. I'm really. I can see it when a chick's interested in another guy, but I do not notice when she's interested in me.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
you've been getting flirted on. You pack
a little bit about now that I'm bigger and thicker, chicks are all about it. So
yeah, and but to answer his question, so small waist, that's what you would suggest, right? Is just
vacuums. Don't do any of that like put a fucking PVC bar on your back and do all that twisting bullshit. Don't do any of that. Ab wheel and vacuums. That's all you need.
Also, paused breathing squats is another way that you can really train your transverse abdominis. I will say don't go too heavy or else you will lose tightness.
Yep. And you will pass out.
Yeah. So that's something I've started recently doing. I will say that...
You're bringing back breathing squats, my man.
I know. And it feels so fucking good. Holy shit. But hey, different strokes for different folks. But do you believe that there's like you're gonna add like 5 to 10 inches on your waist if you train abs? Like that's what people believe is they'll get a beer belly from training abs.
No, there's absolutely no possibility of getting a beer belly by training abs. And that whole thing about oh, well, I'm going to put on muscle underneath my fat, so I'm just going to look fatter. No, no. Just stop. Just stop with the no. And also, there's never been a person with a 28-inch waist who could squat a goddamn thing unless it was a girl, unless she was a small girl.
Well,
men with a 28-inch waist can't squat a fucking thing.
I think it's overblown, you know, the fear of it. So.
It's preposterous because there's a very simple way of fixing your X-frame, and that is train the fuck out of your lats and your shoulders. Your waist can be as wide as you want if your lats and your shoulders are big. Yep, rear delts. And just look at the Farnese Hercules. I think the guy had like a 38-inch waist. Like, he had slabs of meat on his sides. Yeah. And I mean, if there isn't a chick on earth who would blow that statue, I mean, what's that?
Look at Kazmaier.
Yeah, look at Mariusz Pudzianowski.
Yeah. So, I mean, those guys are thick in the ab region. They're thick. But with that being said, do waist trainers work? That was the other part of the question. So I have some interesting thoughts on this one. What's yours?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
That's an opinion. That's an opinion and not a fact.
My opinion is they work, but probably not in the way that you want them to. You see a lot of these women who wear waist trainers 24 hours a day. They take them off for like a couple hours and then they put them back on. And the next thing you know, they have these extremely tiny, like almost cartoonistic waist. That is on the realm of unhealthy. That is like changing the shape of your intra-abdominis and crushing your organs potentially, right? So one girl who went to the hospital, she was the woman with the smallest waist in the world, or whatever. Like, apparently that's a thing.
Oh, corsetry.
Yeah, and because corsets are formal waist trainers, you know, and that's what
I guess that's true.
People think of waist trainers as corsets, right? They think of corsets, and of course
I was under the impression people thought that waist trainers just caused you to spot reduce fat because you're heating up your, which doesn't make any fucking sense at all. It's not like you can.
It's the same thing with like those fucking wraps that they do, with the. I mean, most of it.
Oh yeah, we're gonna suck the toxins out of the fat in your stomach or whatever.
Here's a funny thing: boxers back in the day used to get cellophane, or they used to get like cling wrap, right, and wrap it around their stomach to shed water weight. They were actually getting plastic poisoning from the cellophane and passing out in their boxing matches. You know,
that's hilarious.
Don't buy into the hype. But as for corsets specifically, they do work, probably not in a healthy way. I don't think that if you reduce your waist by an inch or two using a corset, it's going to affect you much. If you start pulling in on like the, you know, people with like 14-inch waist, you know, like these extremely cartoonish Betty Boop looking motherfuckers, that's at the point where you are in danger, physically, you know, let alone mentally. I mean, those things are mentally addictive too, because there's girls in this world that won't go outside without wearing a corset because they just feel ugly otherwise. And god damn it, you're beautiful, woman out there listening. Fuck beautiful and everybody loves you. Well, I'm just saying, like, there's two things that guys care about, and it's like, how can I get you naked and you look okay? It's like, probably yes and probably yes. Like, you know, we're simple. Of course, that's me being a misogynistic pig, I guess. But I'm right, you know, though. But yeah, waist trainers, I wouldn't put too much, like corsets specifically, I wouldn't put too much stock into them as being something that you can use long term without any health effects being bad, all the bad things. So, what are your thoughts on that, corsets?
I mean, I've known a bunch of girls who were into corsetry. I think it makes chicks feel pretty. And so I don't have a problem with that. They feel sexy in a corset. Wear a corset. I mean, you wear those crazy like steel-boned corsets that are
That's
like
what I'm talking about. The
yeah,
ones that
that's
you tighten.
compressing. Yeah, you're giving yourself like serious health issues doing that.
Yeah.
Because like your body basically is a finely tuned machine, and each body is constructed differently. But your
Correct.
body is actually like your body's, just to use a like an allegory, like an automotive allegory, like it's like the timing belts and everything. That's all set up specifically for the way your body is constructed. And when you start moving the position of organs, you are changing the distance between certain organs that are involved in digestion. You're actually changing your body's method of doing everything. So its timing's off, everything's off. And I feel like that it's likely going to lead to some severe health issues down the road. And I think it does, actually. You can get internal bleeding and all sorts of shit from that stuff.
Not only that, but like I had mentioned, that woman actually went to the hospital for organ damage because she had tightened it so much. Hey, but at least she's in the record books, I guess.
Yeah, was she 17-inch waist or something like that?
Something like that. I know she got dethroned. Which, by the way, the person who dethroned her, you're fucked.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think we've covered that. And men wearing waist trainers, stop. Stop wearing corsets. That's a thing too now, by the way.
What?
Men wearing corsets.
Oh, like Spanx type things?
Yeah.
Christ. Where the fuck is everybody's pride gone?
And they're wearing corsets with fake abs on them.
Just, where's their pride? I gotta know.
All right, so is the middle-aged beer belly caused by beer? That's the last thing that we'll kind of...
Middle-aged beer belly is caused by fat.
Well, hey, that's the same answer I would give. So, yeah.
Fat is fat. Who knows where the fuck the fat came from? I mean, I don't have a beer belly, but it's because I've been training my fucking ass off for years and years and years.
And you don't get, blasted and then go to McDonald's and order everything on the menu, and like you don't over. I mean, you eat kind of healthy.
I'm violently overeating now. I mean, it's preposterous the way I'm overeating. Like yesterday, I ate a 20-inch hoagie, and then my following 3 meals were like a pound of popcorn chicken, and then a pound of buffalo chicken, like chicken nuggets, and then a shake in 2% milk and half. And then I had shawarma for dinner, and then I had another shake in 2% milk and half.
Yeah. Well, you trained for that though. But like,
yeah, I mean, I've been lean so long that that like 70% of the weight I put on, it has to be muscle.
Yeah, your body's like, nah,
yeah,
no fat.
Yeah, so I'm willing to take the 30% of it going to fat, because like you put on 10 pounds of muscle, or you put on 10 pounds. If 7 pounds of it is muscle and 3 pounds of it is fat, I'll take that fucking 3 pounds. Who gives a shit?
But with that being done, got past it. We are at 2 hours. I think it's time for this to end. Like all
did we beat we beat all the FAQ?
Yeah, we beat all the questions. We
beat them right into the ground.
We brought violence back to Q&As.
We did.
But that being said, guys, be on the lookout for...
There it is!
God. That was fast. No. Okay. Be on the lookout for us on SoundCloud. Please like this video. Also, if we are doing a call to action, if you made it this far in the video, please do your damnedest to share this on Reddit, on everywhere that you can fucking share it, your personal Facebook page, everything. We want this thing to take the world over. So, each share and everything, that helps us out tremendously. And don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter, because we have good things in the works.
Oh, by the way, just a postscript to your to the corset thing.
Yeah.
I think the chick you were talking about, she's got her waist down to 16 inches. She's a German chick. For 3 years she's been wearing a corset 24 hours a day. She even wears it while she sleeps.
Yeah.
And she's like one of those African chicks that like can't take the rings off her neck or her head will fall off. This bitch actually can't stand up without a corset on. She cannot get out of bed.
What an end.
She also can't eat a normal meal. She has to eat 10 small meals a day. And God only knows, I mean, the chick is like 100, I mean, she's anorexic as fuck on top of wearing this corset. So, I mean,
she'd have to be.
We're talking about like 2 ounces of chicken with some leaves of lettuce sort of thing. So she'll probably be dead. She's 24. She won't live to 30.
Just start refreshing the page any day now.
Yeah, exactly. We need to start a Deadpool on these people.
Yeah, and also we will probably cover a topic, or we might do another Q&A. I haven't decided what we're going to do next. So please leave your questions in the comment section below. And we got to get going. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Later.